Before the vast and intricate lore of Warhammer 40,000 unfolded, there existed another era, a mythic age of gods, realms, and unimaginable powers that set the stage for the grim darkness of the far future. This was the age of Sigmar, a realm where divine champions, cosmic entities, and mortal heroes clashed in struggles that would echo across time. To understand Warhammer 40,000, one must first delve into the origins of this fantastical epic, where the seeds of grand narratives were sown and the foundation of two intertwined universes was laid. The Age of Sigmar is a story of rebirth and chaos, a tale that begins not with the industrial hum of forge worlds or the endless void of space, but with raw, untamed magic and the endless conflict between light and darkness. It was a time when entire worlds were forged by the will of gods and torn apart by the ambitions of their enemies. While the grim, dystopian vision of Warhammer 40,000 is marked by decay, the Age of Sigmar flourished with the vibrant energy of creation and destruction in its purest forms. This ancient era was one of endless possibilities, where every victory brought hope and every loss reshaped reality. Mortals were not merely subjects of divine powers, but active participants in the eternal struggle, their bravery and ingenuity shaping the fate of the realms. It was a time when the gods walked among their creations, wielding unimaginable power, yet burdened by their own flaws and rivalries. While many of the themes and conflicts of Warhammer 40,000 find their echoes in the Age of Sigmar, the two eras are not merely sequential, but deeply connected, sharing a thematic core of struggle, resilience, and the cyclical nature of destruction and rebirth. To understand the significance of this connection, one must grasp the fundamental essence of the Age of Sigmar, a realm born of devastation, where hope battled despair and creation walked hand in hand with annihilation. The stage is set for an epic journey through time, where the origins of the Sigmarite pantheon, the rise of chaos, and the birth of the mortal realms would lay the groundwork for a universe defined by eternal war. This prologue invites us to explore not only the beginnings of Age of Sigmar, but also its profound role in shaping the mythos that would eventually become Warhammer 40,000. It is a bridge between fantasy and science fiction, between gods and mortals, and between two universes that are forever linked. Let us step into this ancient time of legends, where the lines between reality and myth blur, and where every tale begins with a spark of creation in the endless void. The Age of Sigmar awaits, its secrets ready to unfold. In the Age of Sigmar, the vibrant and multifaceted tapestry of factions and participants spans from divine beings to mortal warriors, all playing distinct and essential roles in the shaping of this fantastical era. Each group, while unique in their purpose and characteristics, contributes to the grand interplay of creation, conflict, and survival within the mortal realms. Their actions and existences are the threads that weave together the broader narrative of this ancient time, and understanding their roles is crucial to grasping the origins of what would one day lead to the Warhammer 40,000 universe. At the heart of this era are the gods, powerful entities who embody the forces of creation, destruction, and everything in between. They are both protectors and destroyers, shaping realms and mortal lives with their divine will. Some gods, such as Sigmar, represent hope and order, striving to maintain balance and safeguard mortals. Others embody chaos and entropy, reveling in the unraveling of reality and the corruption of life. These divine beings are not merely abstract forces, but active participants, often directly intervening in the affairs of mortals and shaping the fate of the realms they inhabit. The mortal champions, warriors, and defenders of the realms stand as the bridge between the divine and the mundane. They come from various races and cultures, each with its own unique perspective and contributions to the ongoing struggles of their age. From the noble Stormcast Eternals, forged by the divine will of Sigmar, to the resilient free peoples who inhabit the cities and settlements of the realms, these mortals are the lifeblood of the Age of Sigmar. They fight not only for survival, but also for the preservation of their cultures and the hope of a better future. The forces of chaos loom as an ever-present threat, a manifestation of destruction and corruption that seeks to consume all. These agents of turmoil, comprised of demonic hordes and mortal followers, are driven by the insatiable hunger of the dark gods they serve. Their goal is not merely conquest, but the total domination and annihilation of the realms. Each of the Chaos gods has its own agenda and methodology, adding layers of complexity to their ceaseless assault on the forces of order. In stark contrast, the realms themselves are not mere backdrops, but active participants in the drama of the Age of Sigmar. Each realm is infused with a unique essence, reflecting the characteristics of its associated deity or elemental force. These realms are living, breathing entities, shaped by the actions and conflicts of the beings who inhabit them. They serve as both battlegrounds and sanctuaries, their landscapes transforming under the weight of the struggles they bear witness to. The undead, a chilling and relentless force, also claim their place in this age. Ruled by powers that transcend mortality, they serve masters who wield dominion over death itself. These beings are neither truly alive nor entirely gone, existing in a state that defies the natural order. Their motives are as varied as their forms, from subjugation of the living to the pursuit of their own enigmatic agendas. The mortal realms are further enriched by the presence of other races and cultures, each bringing its own traditions, strengths, and challenges to the ever-shifting balance of power. The cunning and resourceful Duoden, known for their craftsmanship and determination, build wonders and wage battles in equal measure. The mystical and ancient Aelves, whose ties to magic and the natural world are unparalleled, bring an ethereal quality to the struggles of this age. Even the often overlooked and underestimated Grots and Orks contribute to the chaos and unpredictability of the mortal realms, their crude yet effective methods adding another dimension to the conflicts that unfold. Finally, the natural forces of the realms themselves, beasts, spirits, and elemental entities, play their part in the unfolding saga. These beings, while not aligned with the ambitions of gods or mortals, act as wild cards, their motives driven by instinct or ancient primal forces. They remind all who dwell within the mortal realms that nature is a force to be reckoned with, one that cannot be tamed or ignored. Together, these participants form a complex web of relationships and conflicts, each contributing to the grand narrative of the Age of Sigmar. Their roles, while distinct, are interconnected, creating a dynamic and ever-changing world that is as captivating as it is perilous. The mortal realms are a stage where the interplay of these forces shapes not only the present, but also the future, echoing through the ages and influencing the far-off grim darkness of Warhammer 40k. The Age of Sigmar emerged as a response to a series of catastrophic events that reshaped existence, born from the ashes of a world consumed by conflict and chaos. Before this epic began, there was an age of grandeur, an ancient world filled with flourishing civilizations, vast empires, and thriving cultures. Yet, beneath this veneer of prosperity lay seeds of destruction, pride, ambition, and the unrelenting hunger for power. These forces would eventually ignite the flames of annihilation, bringing about the end of what once was and setting the stage for the mortal realms to rise. The ultimate catalyst for this transformation was the apocalyptic collapse of a previous era. The Old World, a realm of sprawling continents and unyielding kingdoms, was beset by unceasing wars and escalating rivalries. As the forces of destruction and chaos grew unchecked, they consumed everything in their path, eroding the fragile balance that had sustained existence for eons. The destructive conflict spread across all lands, leaving devastation and ruin in its wake. Entire civilizations crumbled under the weight of their own hubris, and what once stood as monuments to resilience became little more than ash and memory. The cause of this calamity was not singular, but multifaceted. At its core was the endless struggle between the forces of order and those of entropy. The defenders of creation sought to preserve their way of life, yet their efforts were continually undermined by both internal strife and external pressures. Alliances faltered, betrayals multiplied, and the inability to unite against a common foe proved to be the downfall of countless realms. As the bonds of unity unraveled, the forces of destruction seized the opportunity to strike, their unrelenting advance driving the world closer to the precipice. Another factor that precipitated the collapse was the insidious influence of dark powers, whose whispers sowed discord and madness among the mortal and divine alike. These entities thrived on the weaknesses and desires of their targets, offering promises of unimaginable power and dominion in exchange for loyalty. As their influence grew, so too did the chaos that engulfed the old world. The very fabric of reality was warped by their presence, twisting what once was into something unrecognizable. The natural order of the old world also played a part in its downfall. As the cycles of creation and destruction reached their peak, the fragile equilibrium that had sustained existence for millennia began to fracture. Forces beyond mortal comprehension stirred, their movements rippling through time and space, heralding the end of one age and the dawn of another. The sheer magnitude of these cosmic shifts rendered even the mightiest of empires powerless, their legacies reduced to little more than echoes in the void. Amid this chaos, a desperate attempt to salvage what could be saved took shape. Visionaries, scholars, and seers sought to understand the cataclysmic forces at play, hoping to uncover a means of preserving life amidst the chaos. Their efforts, while noble, often came too late or were sabotaged by those driven by greed and fear. The fragmented knowledge they managed to preserve would, however, form the foundation of what was to come, ensuring that the lessons of the past would not be entirely lost. The pivotal moment came with the ultimate destruction of the old world, an event so cataclysmic that it shattered not only physical lands, but also the spiritual and metaphysical realms. This obliteration was not the end, but a transformation, a violent rebirth that paved the way for the creation of the mortal realms. The energy unleashed by this collapse surged across the void, seeding new worlds and reshaping the remnants of what had come before. This cosmic upheaval marked the beginning of a new era, one defined by vast possibilities and endless challenges. As the dust settled and the echoes of destruction faded, the mortal realms emerged, formed from the raw power of creation and destruction. These realms, connected by ethereal pathways and brimming with magic, represented a fresh start, a chance to rebuild and redefine existence. However, the scars of the past would remain, serving as a reminder of the fragility of order and the ever-present threat of chaos. Thus, the Age of Sigmar was born not in peace, but in the wake of devastation, its foundation shaped by the lessons and legacies of the era that preceded it. It was a time of renewal, where the remnants of the old world coalesced into something new, and the stage was set for an epic saga of gods, mortals, and the eternal struggle that would define the mortal realms. The Age of Sigmar unfolded through a sequence of pivotal events, each marking a step in the development of a new reality born from the ashes of the old. These events did not occur in isolation, but were interconnected, creating a dynamic and evolving tapestry that shaped the mortal realms into what they would become. The earliest stage was the emergence of the mortal realms themselves. These realms were formed from the remnants of the old world, imbued with the raw energies unleashed during its destruction. Each realm represented a unique aspect of existence, reflecting elemental forces such as life, death, fire, and metal. The formation of these realms was chaotic and tumultuous, as their nascent landscapes shifted and stabilized over time. This was a time of primal forces and untamed potential, where the foundations of a new age were being laid. With the realms taking shape, the next step was the arrival of gods and other powerful beings. These entities, some remnants of the old world and others entirely new, began to assert their influence over the nascent mortal realms. They claimed dominion over specific realms or aspects of existence, their actions shaping the physical and metaphysical characteristics of the lands they controlled. This era saw the rise of divine figures as both protectors and rulers, their presence providing stability and order amidst the chaos. As the realm stabilized, mortal life began to flourish. Diverse cultures and civilizations emerged, each adapting to the unique conditions of their respective realms. These societies brought ingenuity and ambition, constructing cities, forging alliances, and developing distinct traditions. The mortal inhabitants of the realms were both creators and defenders, their efforts laying the groundwork for the vibrant tapestry of the Age of Sigmar. Their progress, however, was not without challenges, as the untamed realms presented countless dangers in the form of wild creatures, natural disasters, and lingering remnants of chaos. The next significant phase was the incursion of destructive forces. While the realms had begun to stabilize, they were far from secure. The forces of chaos, emboldened by the destruction of the old world, sought to corrupt and dominate the mortal realms. Their incursions began subtly, with agents sowing discord and corruption, but soon escalated into full-scale invasions. The Chaos Gods and their minions poured into the realms, their presence threatening to unravel the fragile order that had been established. Faced with this existential threat, the defenders of the realms rallied. This marked the beginning of an age of unending conflict, as mortals, gods, and other entities joined forces to resist the encroaching chaos. Battles raged across the realms, with territories won and lost in a seemingly endless cycle. The defenders utilized their unique strengths and resources, from divine intervention to mortal ingenuity, to hold back the tide of destruction. These struggles not only preserved the realms, but also forged a sense of unity and purpose among their inhabitants. Amidst the chaos of war, moments of innovation and discovery emerged. Mortals and gods alike sought to harness the unique energies of the realms, developing powerful artifacts, spells, and technologies to aid in their struggle. These advancements not only bolstered their defenses, but also deepened their understanding of the realms and their potential. The era became one of both conflict and growth, as each battle brought new challenges and opportunities. The conflict reached a critical point when alliances were forged between previously divided factions. Realizing that unity was essential for survival, the inhabitants of the realms began to set aside their differences and work together against their common enemies. This period of cooperation marked a turning point in the development of the Age of Sigmar, as combined efforts began to shift the balance of power away from chaos and toward a more stable and hopeful future. These key stages, formation, stabilization, incursion, resistance, and unity, define the progression of the Age of Sigmar's early development. They illustrate a world in constant flux, where every victory and setback contributes to the broader narrative. Each step forward is hard-earned, shaped by the resilience and determination of those who call the mortal realms home. Through their struggles and triumphs, the foundation is laid for the Age of Sigmar to fully emerge, a new era born from the trials and tribulations of its creation. The pivotal moment that shaped the Age of Sigmar and set it on a course distinct from its origins in the old world was the discovery and harnessing of the Realm Gates. These mysterious portals, scattered across the mortal realms, were ancient constructs of immense power. They served as conduits, linking the diverse realms and allowing for instantaneous travel between them. While their exact origins remained shrouded in mystery, their significance was undeniable, as they became both the lifeline and battleground of the New Age. The Realm Gates were not merely tools for exploration, but also a double-edged sword. They represented an opportunity to unite the realms and enable collaboration between their inhabitants. At the same time, they posed a grave danger, as their uncontrolled use could allow hostile forces to spread unchecked. The struggle over these portals became the defining event of this era, forcing gods, mortals, and chaos alike to make critical decisions that would alter the course of history. The realization of the Realm Gate's potential came during a period of heightened desperation. The mortal realms, though vast and varied, were not immune to isolation. Communication and coordination across the realms were limited, leaving individual territories vulnerable to the relentless forces of chaos. When Sigmar and his allies uncovered the existence of these gateways, it became clear that they could serve as the key to forging a united front against their enemies. However, the challenge lay in securing and controlling them. The first major effort to harness the realm gates was a coordinated campaign to reclaim those that had fallen into the hands of chaos. These initial battles were ferocious, as the forces of destruction recognized the strategic value of the gates and fought viciously to maintain their hold. Sigmar's forces, led by the newly forged Stormcast Eternals, launched a series of lightning strikes to wrest control of the gates. These conflicts became legendary, their outcomes shaping the geography and alliances of the realms. The turning point came with the successful consecration of a critical realm gate that linked the realm of Azur to another key territory. This victory was not just a tactical success, but a symbolic one, demonstrating that the forces of order could push back against chaos and reclaim what had been lost. The consecration ritual itself was a monumental undertaking, requiring the combined efforts of divine power, arcane mastery, and mortal ingenuity. When the gate was finally secured, it became a beacon of hope for all who opposed the forces of destruction. With control of several key realm gates, Sigmar and his allies implemented a strategy to establish strongholds near these portals, ensuring their protection and allowing for rapid deployment of troops across the realms. These strongholds became the foundation for a network of fortified cities and outposts, serving as bastions of order amidst the chaos. The gates themselves were heavily guarded, their use carefully regulated to prevent misuse or sabotage. The strategic importance of the realm gates also brought about an arms race among the factions of the mortal realms. Each sought to develop new means of exploiting or countering the portals. For the forces of order, this meant creating specialized units and magical wards to defend the gates. For chaos and other hostile powers, it meant devising ever more insidious methods to infiltrate or destroy these critical assets. The battles over the gates became increasingly complex, involving not just brute force, but also espionage, sabotage, and cunning strategies. The mastery of the realm gates also had profound cultural and social implications. As the gates enabled travel and interaction between previously isolated realms, they facilitated the exchange of knowledge, traditions, and resources. This connectivity began to shape a shared identity among the inhabitants of the realms, fostering alliances and collaboration. However, it also brought tensions, as differing priorities and perspectives clashed in the face of shared challenges. The legacy of the realm gates' discovery and control is one of transformation. They became the arteries through which the lifeblood of the Age of Sigmar flowed, connecting the diverse realms and enabling the monumental struggles that would define the era. This pivotal moment was not just a turning point in the fight against chaos, but also a catalyst for the evolution of the mortal realms themselves, setting the stage for the epic narratives that would follow. It was a moment of both triumph and uncertainty, as the forces of order secured a vital advantage while also realizing the enormity of the challenges that still lay ahead. The immediate impact of the events defining the Age of Sigmar was monumental, reshaping the mortal realms and setting them on a trajectory that would influence their entire future. The balance of power, the structure of societies, and the very nature of existence within these realms were profoundly affected. These changes rippled outward, influencing the interactions of factions, the development of culture, and the strategies of warfare. One of the most significant outcomes was the stabilization of certain regions within the realms. Following the reclamation of critical territories and the establishment of fortified cities near realm gates, pockets of relative safety began to emerge. These strongholds became beacons of hope, where mortal civilizations could flourish under the protection of divine and mortal defenders. Inhabitants of these regions found respite from the chaos that had once dominated their lives, allowing them to rebuild and expand their societies. The cities, however, were not merely places of refuge, but hubs of cultural, economic, and military activity, serving as a foundation for the renewed strength of the forces of order. The newfound security in these regions fostered a resurgence of creativity and innovation. Artisans, scholars, and magicians flourished within the safety of these strongholds, their work contributing to the development of advanced technologies and powerful artifacts. This period of renewal saw the creation of weapons, armor, and tools that would define the Age of Sigmar, equipping its defenders with the means to challenge even the most formidable enemies. The spread of knowledge and culture also began to unify the diverse populations of the realms, forming the basis for stronger alliances. However, this stabilization came at a cost. The creation of fortified bastions and the concentration of resources within them left other regions vulnerable. Vast swaths of the mortal realms remained contested or completely dominated by hostile forces. In these regions, the unchecked spread of chaos, destruction, and death continued unabated. Entire populations were enslaved or annihilated, their lands twisted into nightmarish reflections of their former glory. The stark contrast between the safety of the strongholds and the horrors beyond their borders served as a grim reminder of the stakes involved in the ongoing struggle. The stabilization efforts also had a profound psychological impact. While some regions experienced a resurgence of hope, others were consumed by despair. The inhabitants of regions under constant siege often felt abandoned, their pleas for aid unheard or unanswered due to the overwhelming scale of the conflict. This dichotomy led to fractures within the forces of order, as some groups resented the perceived favoritism shown to the fortified strongholds. These tensions threatened to undermine the unity that was so vital to the survival of the realms. The forces of chaos, recognizing the threat posed by the stabilization efforts, intensified their attacks. Their leaders adapted their strategies, focusing their efforts on undermining the strongholds and reclaiming lost territory. This led to a new wave of conflict, with battles becoming larger and more destructive. The realms themselves bore the scars of these clashes, with landscapes permanently altered by the forces unleashed during these titanic struggles. The environment became a battlefield in its own right, its features used both as tools of war and symbols of defiance. One of the most immediate and visible impacts was the shift in the balance of power among the factions. The forces of order, bolstered by their newfound footholds, began to push back against chaos with renewed vigor. Their victories, though hard-fought, inspired others to join their cause, swelling their ranks with fresh recruits and new allies. This growing strength allowed them to launch increasingly ambitious campaigns, reclaiming more territory and further stabilizing the realms. At the same time, the dynamics of conflict began to evolve. The war against chaos was no longer a desperate struggle for survival, but a more organized and strategic campaign. This shift in focus allowed the forces of order to establish long-term goals and coordinate their efforts more effectively. However, it also introduced new challenges, as the complexity of managing such a vast and diverse coalition tested the limits of leadership and logistics. The immediate impact of the Age of Sigmar's defining events was a mixture of triumph and tragedy. While the stabilization of key regions and the resurgence of order brought hope to many, the continued dominance of chaos in other areas ensured that the struggle was far from over. The realms, though scarred and divided, began to show signs of resilience, their inhabitants forging a path forward amidst the chaos of their existence. This delicate balance would define the early age of Sigmar, shaping the course of its history and laying the groundwork for the epic narratives that would follow. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Age of Sigmar is its exploration of the interplay between magic, divine intervention, and mortal ingenuity. The mortal realms are suffused with a raw and volatile form of magic, tied directly to the essence of each realm. This abundance of magical energy not only fuels the actions of gods and sorcerers, but also deeply influences the physical and metaphysical structure of the realms themselves. The omnipresence of magic has led to some of the most distinctive elements in the setting, sparking endless discussions among fans about its implications, mechanics, and narrative significance. The unique magical properties of each realm are among its most defining features. For instance, the realm of fire is a searing domain of molten rivers and volcanic landscapes, while the realm of life overflows with verdant jungles and endless growth. These elemental essences shape the lives of the inhabitants and the strategies employed in warfare. Weapons, spells, and artifacts forged within these realms often carry the intrinsic properties of their environment, creating a fascinating interplay between setting and capability. This connection between geography and power raises questions about how mortals and gods adapt to their environments and harness their realm's latent potential. One of the most discussed topics in the community is the realm sphere magic, a phenomenon tied to the ambient energies of each realm. Sorcerers can tap into this potent force, channeling it to amplify their abilities. However, the volatile nature of realm sphere magic means it can be both a blessing and a curse. Miscalculations or over-reliance on it can lead to catastrophic consequences, as the raw energy of the realms is unpredictable and often untamable. This dynamic adds a layer of tension to the use of magic, as every spell cast carries a risk, not just for the caster but for their surroundings. The creation of artifacts and weapons in the Age of Sigmar is another captivating aspect frequently explored. The combination of mortal craftsmanship and divine power has led to the forging of relics that are both awe-inspiring and terrifying. For example, the weapons wielded by the Stormcast Eternals are not merely tools of war, but symbols of their divine purpose, imbued with the power of Azure. Similarly, Chaos-forged artifacts carry the corrupting influence of their patrons, often granting their wielders immense power at a terrible cost. The existence of such items sparks debates about their origins, purpose, and the moral dilemmas they present to their users. The celestial phenomena tied to the realms also offer fertile ground for exploration. Each realm is surrounded by its own unique heavens, and these skies often play a role in shaping the events below. Constellations shift and align with portentous meaning, serving as omens for mortals and gods alike. The concept of celestial significance extends to the notion of realm gates, whose activation or destruction can cause massive shifts in the balance of power. These interconnected elements create a sense of cosmic grandeur, emphasizing that the mortal realms are not isolated but part of a vast living system. The role of the gods in shaping technology and tactics within the Age of Sigmar is another widely discussed topic. Sigmar's introduction of the Stormcast Eternals, a warrior caste reforged through divine intervention, stands as a prime example of the intersection between mortal determination and godly power. The reforging process, while granting immense strength and resilience, comes with its own costs, such as the erosion of the warrior's individuality with each resurrection. This concept raises questions about the nature of identity and the sacrifices made in the name of a greater cause. On the tactical front, the Age of Sigmar's focus on large-scale battles and the interplay of magical forces introduces a dynamic rarely seen in other settings. The manipulation of the realms themselves as a battlefield, whether through environmental hazards or the summoning of realm-specific entities, adds an extra layer of complexity to conflicts. This element invites discussions about strategy and adaptability, as each faction must consider not only their opponents, but also the inherent dangers of the terrain. Lastly, the overarching theme of cycles, destruction, and renewal has captivated fans and sparked numerous theories. The mortal realms are in a constant state of flux, with periods of growth followed by inevitable devastation. This cyclical nature reflects the broader themes of the Age of Sigmar, where even in the face of overwhelming odds, there is always the possibility of rebuilding and starting anew. The philosophical implications of this cycle, and its potential connection to the far future grimdark of Warhammer 40,000, remain a point of fascination and debate. These unique aspects of the Age of Sigmar, Its magical intricacies, divine artifacts, celestial phenomena, and thematic depth contribute to its enduring appeal. They invite fans to delve deeper into the mysteries of the mortal realms, fostering a community that thrives on both the richness of the lore and the endless possibilities it presents. The Age of Sigmar is filled with remarkable individuals whose actions and characteristics have left indelible marks on the mortal realms. These figures, whether mortal or divine, embody the themes of resilience, ambition, and sacrifice that define this era. Their unique qualities, motivations, and limitations make them central to the ongoing narrative and a source of endless fascination for those who explore their stories. Sigmar himself stands as the most prominent figure of this age. As a divine being who ascended from mortal origins, he represents the ideals of leadership, perseverance, and hope. Sigmar's vision for the mortal realms extends beyond mere survival. He seeks to create a lasting order where life can flourish. His immense power is matched by his unwavering determination, but his greatest strength lies in his ability to inspire others. However, Sigmar is not without flaws. His single-minded pursuit of his goals often leads to difficult decisions, and his reliance on the reforging process for his Stormcast Eternals raises ethical questions about the cost of his strategies. Nagash, the Supreme Lord of the Undead, is another defining personality. Cold, calculating, and utterly ruthless, Nagash seeks to bring all realms under his control, viewing death as the ultimate state of existence. His mastery of necromantic magic and his ability to command vast legions of the dead make him one of the most fearsome beings in the realms. Yet, his unyielding obsession with dominance and immortality blinds him to the value of alliances and collaboration. His arrogance often isolates him, leaving him vulnerable to the combined efforts of his enemies. Alarielle, the Everqueen of the Sylvaneth, embodies the spirit of life and renewal. Her connection to the natural world is unmatched, and she wields the power to heal the land and summon the might of the forest to her aid. Alarielle's strength lies in her deep empathy and her ability to channel the essence of life itself. However, her temperament can be unpredictable, shifting between nurturing and wrathful depending on the state of her realm. This duality makes her both an inspiring leader and a fearsome opponent, but it also highlights her vulnerability to despair when faced with overwhelming destruction. Archaon, the Everkosin, serves as the ultimate champion of chaos, embodying the destructive potential of its forces. Archaon is a figure of unrelenting ambition and unparalleled martial prowess. He has united the disparate factions of chaos under his banner, a feat that speaks to his charisma and strategic brilliance. His armor, weapons, and mount are legendary, each imbued with dark powers that amplify his already formidable presence. Despite his strength, Archaon is defined by his unwavering devotion to chaos, which leaves him blind to the potential for redemption or change. His relentless pursuit of dominance makes him a symbol of chaos's consuming nature. Grungni, the god of craftsmanship and the Duardin, is a figure of ingenuity and resilience. Known for his unmatched skill in creating weapons, artifacts, and fortifications, Grungni's contributions are instrumental in the defense of the realms. His creations are not just tools, but symbols of hope and defiance. Grungni's wisdom and patience are his greatest assets, yet his reclusive nature often leads others to question his commitment. He works tirelessly behind the scenes, preferring to let his creations speak for themselves rather than seeking recognition or glory. Morathi, the Shadow Queen, is a figure shrouded in intrigue and ambition. A master manipulator and sorceress, she seeks to elevate herself to godhood while advancing the interests of her followers. Morathi's cunning and intelligence make her a formidable player in the power struggles of the realms, but her thirst for power often leads her to make enemies as quickly as she forms alliances. Her actions are driven by a desire for control, yet her inability to fully trust others limits her ability to build lasting partnerships. The Celestant Prime, Sigmar's chosen warrior, is another iconic figure. Wielding Gal Maraz, the divine hammer of Sigmar, the Celestin Prime is a beacon of hope and righteousness. His presence on the battlefield inspires awe and fear in equal measure, as his strikes carry the fury of the heavens. Despite his divine power, he is still bound by mortal memories and struggles with the weight of his responsibilities. This internal conflict adds depth to his character, as he balances his role as a warrior with his lingering humanity. Vandus Hammerhand, a mortal ascended to the ranks of the Stormcast Eternals, represents the best of what Sigmar's reforging can achieve. As a commander and leader, Vandus combines tactical brilliance with an unshakable moral compass. His loyalty to Sigmar is unwavering, but his experiences as a mortal give him a unique perspective on the struggles of those he fights to protect. Vandus's strength lies in his ability to inspire those under his command, though he remains haunted by the memories of his past life. These remarkable individuals are not merely characters in a grand narrative, but representations of the diverse and complex themes that define the age of Sigmar. Their strengths and weaknesses, ambitions and fears, and triumphs and failures contribute to the rich tapestry of the mortal realms, offering endless avenues for exploration and storytelling. Each figure leaves an indelible mark on the era, shaping its course and ensuring its legacy endures. The Age of Sigmar is a setting filled with mysteries and unanswered questions that have captivated fans and fueled speculation for years. These enigmas touch on the origins of the mortal realms, the motivations of their gods and rulers, and the deeper connections between the Age of Sigmar and other universes. The absence of definitive answers makes these topics fertile ground for debate and creative exploration, keeping the community engaged and the narrative rich with possibilities. One of the most hotly debated topics is the origin of the realm gates. While these portals are central to the functioning of the mortal realms, their true creators and the full extent of their purpose remain shrouded in mystery. Some theories suggest they are remnants of a bygone age, crafted by a civilization so advanced that their legacy persists even after their extinction. Others propose that the realm gates are natural phenomena shaped by the realm's inherent magical energies, their placement determined by forces beyond mortal understanding. Their connection to the broader cosmology raises the question of whether similar constructs might exist in other universes. Another point of contention involves the true nature of the realms themselves. The mortal realms are described as infinite and diverse, yet their boundaries, origins, and interactions with other dimensions remain ambiguous. Are they the result of divine creation, or did they emerge naturally from the destruction of the old world? Some fans speculate that the realms may represent fragmented aspects of a single unified reality, split apart by the catastrophic events that birthed them. Others believe they could be entirely separate planes of existence, loosely connected by the realm gates, but otherwise independent. The reforging process used to create the Stormcast Eternals is another topic rich with unresolved questions. While the process is known to transform mortals into divine warriors, it is not without its flaws. Each reforging strips away a part of the individual's humanity, leaving them increasingly detached from their former selves. This raises profound ethical and philosophical questions. Is the reforging process truly a gift, or is it a curse disguised as salvation? Moreover, what happens to the lost fragments of these warriors' souls? Are they absorbed into the realms, recycled into the ether, or trapped in some unknown limbo? Nagash's plans for ultimate domination over death also present numerous mysteries. While his intentions are clear, to control all aspects of death across the realms, the details of his grand design remain opaque. Fans often debate whether Nagash's ambition stems purely from a lust for power or if it is rooted in a twisted sense of duty to bring order to the chaos of mortality. Furthermore, the question of how Nagash's schemes intersect with the broader battle against chaos adds another layer of complexity, as his goals sometimes align with those of his enemies, creating a paradoxical relationship. The alliances and rivalries among the gods of the Age of Sigmar are another source of intrigue. While some gods, such as Sigmar and Alariel, work together for the preservation of the realms, their relationships are not without tension. What deeper motivations or past conflicts drive these alliances and enmities? For instance, Grungni's reclusive nature and reluctance to openly engage in the affairs of the realms leave fans questioning his true role and intentions. Similarly, the enigmatic dealings of Marathi, who constantly maneuvers between allies and adversaries, invite speculation about her ultimate goals and the full extent of her power. The cyclical nature of the realms themselves also sparks debate. The realms appear to undergo continuous cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal, but the mechanics and purpose of these cycles are unclear. Are they a natural consequence of the magical energies that sustain the realms, or are they influenced by external forces? Some theories suggest that these cycles are tied to the gods themselves, with their actions and conflicts driving the realm's perpetual transformation. Others propose that the cycles are a reflection of a grander cosmic pattern, one that might extend beyond the mortal realms. Another popular topic of speculation involves the nature of chaos itself. While the chaos gods are well established as malevolent forces, their origins and ultimate purpose remain elusive. Are they purely destructive entities, or do they serve some larger role in the balance of existence? Some fans theorize that chaos might be a necessary counterbalance to the forces of order, its presence ensuring the realms do not stagnate. This perspective raises uncomfortable questions about whether the chaos gods are truly evil, or if they embody a more complex and essential force within the cosmos. Finally, the connection between the Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 is a topic of endless fascination. While the two universes are distinct, their shared themes and overlapping elements invite speculation about whether they are part of a larger multiverse. Are the mortal realms an earlier iteration of the galaxy-spanning conflict seen in Warhammer 40,000, or do they exist in parallel? The lack of a definitive answer allows fans to explore these ideas through creative interpretations, bridging the two settings in unique and imaginative ways. These unanswered questions and unresolved theories ensure that the Age of Sigmar remains a dynamic and evolving narrative. The mysteries surrounding its origins, mechanics, and characters invite fans to participate actively in shaping their understanding of the setting, fostering a sense of ownership and engagement that keeps the lore alive and thriving. The long-term implications of the Age of Sigmar on the mortal realms and beyond extend far beyond the conflicts of the present. The events that define this era have set in motion forces and changes that will shape the trajectory of existence for ages to come, touching every aspect of life, from the survival of civilizations to the balance of cosmic power. The interplay between creation and destruction, order and chaos, and divine intervention and mortal agency creates a dynamic future fraught with both promise and peril. One of the most profound long-term effects is the transformation of the mortal realms into a more interconnected and unified system. The reclamation and stabilization of key realm gates have allowed civilizations to communicate, trade, and collaborate on an unprecedented scale. This interconnectedness fosters a sense of shared destiny among the inhabitants of the realms, encouraging alliances and cooperation. However, it also presents vulnerabilities. As the realms grow increasingly interdependent, the failure or collapse of a critical node, such as a major realm gate, could have devastating consequences, potentially destabilizing entire regions. The spread of knowledge and technology is another significant outcome with far-reaching consequences. The Age of Sigmar has seen remarkable advancements in both magical and mundane innovation, driven by the need to counter the forces of chaos and survive the harsh realities of the mortal realms. These innovations have the potential to elevate mortal civilizations to unprecedented heights, allowing them to build stronger defenses and expand their influence. Yet, this progress is not without risks. The misuse or weaponization of such advancements could lead to internal conflicts, as factions vie for control over powerful artifacts and technologies. The influence of the gods and their evolving relationships with the realms they govern will also shape the future. As divine entities continue to assert their will and interact with mortals, their choices will leave lasting marks on the realms. Some gods, like Sigmar, strive to build enduring legacies of order and stability, while others, such as Nagash, pursue agendas that could upend the balance of life and death. The actions of these gods, whether benevolent or malevolent, will resonate through time, their consequences unfolding in ways that even they may not foresee. The cyclical nature of destruction and renewal within the realms suggests that change is an inevitability, but the direction of that change remains uncertain. While the forces of order have made significant strides in pushing back chaos, the very essence of the realms ensures that no victory is ever permanent. This perpetual instability guarantees that new threats will arise, requiring constant vigilance and adaptation. The ability of the realm's inhabitants to navigate these cycles will determine whether their civilizations endure or fade into obscurity. One of the most intriguing long-term possibilities involves the evolution of the Stormcast Eternals. As immortal warriors reforged by Sigmar, they embody the ultimate fusion of divine power and mortal will. However, the reforging process, with its gradual erosion of individuality, raises questions about the sustainability of this approach. Over time, the cumulative effects of reforging could create a legion of warriors devoid of the human qualities that once made them relatable and inspiring. Alternatively, breakthroughs in the reforging process could mitigate these effects, preserving the humanity of the Stormcast and allowing them to become even more effective champions of order. The forces of chaos, despite their defeats, remain an ever-present threat with implications for the future. The Chaos Gods are relentless in their pursuit of domination, and their ability to adapt and exploit the weaknesses of their enemies ensures that they will continue to pose challenges. The possibility of a resurgence in chaos-driven invasions looms large, as does the potential for internal strife within the realms of order. The unpredictability of chaos serves as a reminder that the struggle for survival is never truly over. Another significant factor is the changing nature of mortal agency within the realms. The Age of Sigmar has demonstrated the capacity of mortals to shape their destinies, often in defiance of gods and cosmic forces. This growing empowerment suggests that the future of the realms may not be entirely dictated by divine intervention. Mortal leaders, innovators, and visionaries could rise to prominence, carving out new paths and redefining the balance of power. This shift could lead to a more decentralized and dynamic era where mortals take a greater role in shaping the fate of the realms. The ecological and magical evolution of the realms themselves also carries long-term implications. The inherent magic of each realm continues to influence its landscapes and inhabitants, driving cycles of change that are both natural and supernatural. These transformations will create new challenges and opportunities as civilizations must adapt to shifting environments and harness the evolving energies of their realms. The potential for realms to merge, fracture, or even give rise to entirely new forms of existence adds an additional layer of complexity to the future. Ultimately, the long-term significance of the Age of Sigmar lies in its role as a crucible of change. It has set the stage for an era of unprecedented potential, where the decisions of individuals and factions will shape the destiny of the mortal realms. Whether this potential leads to a golden age of prosperity or a descent into chaos and destruction remains uncertain, but the legacies of the Age of Sigmar will undoubtedly echo far into the future, ensuring its place as a defining chapter in the history of the cosmos.